is that the USGS has what's called a gauging station. This green building is the old one. It's no longer active. They moved it upstream just a little ways a couple years ago. But what the gauging station is a USGS set up for measuring stream flow, which means we get discharge values for Allen Creek. It used to be right here, now it's just a tiny bit upstream. I think they report every 15 minutes. So that is really, really helpful for us because it means we have really good high quality data of stream flow throughout the whole course of our experiment that we can use. We'll make our own measurements each week at one location, but we can use the fact that the USGS is continuously making measurements to then get estimates for how fast the water is flowing at our different locations throughout the course of this experiment. And we'll talk about that a little more in class, but it provides really helpful information because what we're going to measure in our little baggies of water is the concentration of nitrogen and phosphorus, right? But we're also interested in how much nitrogen and phosphorus is getting dumped in Lake Ontario, right? And you can have a really high concentration, but the flow is really tiny. That's actually not that much nitrogen and phosphorus heading downstream, versus if you have this big raging torrent with a ton of nitrogen and phosphorus, or even a little bit of nitrogen and phosphorus, with this much flow, that's an awful lot heading downstream. Does that make sense? So we always want the measurements not only of how much nitrogen and phosphorus are in our little tiny baggies, but how much water is also flowing downstream, so that we can figure out how much nitrogen and phosphorus are being exported from our watershed into Lake Ontario, because that's what's really going to impact downstream water quality. Does that make sense? So it's super helpful that the USGS has a gauging station here on Allen Creek. It's also helpful for me to figure out what sites are going to be safe for us to get into on any given day, because I can look up stream flow before we come to lab in the morning and figure out, right, if you can imagine this site in particular, we have to get into it on a low flow day or it is not safe, right, because it's at the bottom of the watershed, maximum flow. So we can use the USGS information to get an estimate for what sites are going to be safe to enter on different days. So we are going to collect one last set of